Hey guys, Aiden here. Welcome back to the channel. So today we'll be discussing and reviewing Barcelona versus Elche. Now, this is a pretty interesting match. Obviously, it happened this morning. For the first time since 2023, Barcelona did not have the most possession in the game. Like, that is a crazy statistic, and we have to give Elche their flowers. Honestly, the main thing I want to talk about this game is I think it's sort of a game to sort of put us back on track. I think the players had good intensity, and I think it was a good sign, especially considering the sort of form we've been in recently. I think that we had, good intensity, and I just think the players looked more motivated. Obviously, as you can tell from the last few games and the big losses, especially the second half against Madrid, for example, the players looked like they weren't really into it and unbothered, whereas now I feel like they actually seem motivated in this game. There were good, sharp football at times. I think there were a few moments where I was seeing us pass the ball around really quickly, and I was like, wow, we haven't seen this sharpness from the team for a while. And obviously, we're dealing with a massive injury crisis at the moment. We still got, Rafinha, Pedri out, which is just, oh, man, first time playing about Pedri, really. I just may as well get to it now. But yeah, this is one of the first games ever without Pedri under Hansi Flick. Before he got injured, he played 61 out of 62 games for Hansi Flick. So essentially, this is the first time that Pedri was out by force for Hansi Flick to try and deal with. And I think, he did a good job in sort of, adjusting without him. And yeah, I think we did good. I think it was a good showing, especially considering our injuries. As I said, Rafinha, Pedri, Juan Garcia, Gavi, a lot of key absences. And obviously Ter Stegen as well, but I don't really count him as an absence because I think he, doesn't necessarily make us any better. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, I think we, had a really good game, and I think it's definitely the sort of game we needed to grab momentum and move forward. The main person I want to talk about is Fermin Lopez. I think he has been absolutely amazing this season. He is the heartbeat of the intensity and passion of our team at the moment, especially in the absence of Rafinha. And I cannot wait to see when Rafinha comes back to see the sort of passion and intensity from both of them combined. I think it'll honestly be amazing. And just since he's come back, he's been on absolutely amazing form. I saw he received a standing ovation when he came off today. It's just amazing. He's been really, really good. And that leads you on to another thing. I still cannot believe Chelsea bid 40 million for him. Like, that is honestly an insult. I just cannot believe. Imagine we let Fermin Lopez go to Chelsea for 40 million. In this sort of market right now, where there are sort of average players going for about 100 mil, depending on like talent and promise, he's definitely over 100 mil, like worth that point. And I just think it's ridiculous that Chelsea even offer that. It's insulting, if anything. But yeah, another thing too, it's just incredible how two-footed he is. I honestly think the ceiling for Fermin Lopez is incredibly high, and I'm so excited to see sort of where he goes. I think he has locked down the 10 position, and I'm not too sure Olmo is going to come through and break through, really. It's going to be hard for Olmo to get his place back in the team, and I think Fermin Lopez has definitely earned that spot. Moving on to another player I thought was really good today. I think Balde, was very, very good. I think this is one of his best games in a long time. He did get caught out a few times defensively, but I think the main reason why is because he was so attack-focused today, It was great. It was the first time in a while we've seen him be really confident, taking on players, coming inside. Just his ball carrying, as usual, just amazing. And I think he showed that a lot today, and I think he was really, really good. And he looked really confident. He's starting to build a little bit of a better link with Rafinha, and I think that it definitely showed today. Rashford, obviously. Another player who I think really, really stepped up, and someone who needed to step up, was Frankie de Jong. This was an amazing performance. Obviously, without Pedri, the man we're turning to hold down the midfield for the next, couple weeks or month and a bit is de Jong. And I think he was just amazing as usual. This season in general, he was really good. I think he's holding it down. He really showed up and he stepped up, to that sort of leadership role. He's, I think, 28 now at this point. We've kind of wanted to see this version of Frankie for a long time, and I think he's finally doing it. He was sharp, and he hasn't really had a bad game yet this season. I think he's just been really good, and I think he's a really, really crucial part about how far we'll go this season. So yeah. His midfield partner, Casado, who obviously was replacing Pedri, I think it was okay. Obviously, it's not going to look that great whenever you're going from Pedri to anyone else, but I think he did a pretty good job to step up. I think he did what he needed to do. He wasn't amazing, lost the ball a few times, but I think he was still okay. You could see he was helping out defensively. He was a few good sharp passes. He was all right. He's all we really needed for this game. I don't think there was any glaring issues necessarily. And kind of, since we cover the midfield, before I go to the defense, I'll go up to the top. I think Rashford also, as we saw, he scored an amazing goal, left-footed, just insane finish. I think his ball striking is one of the best in the world, honestly. But yeah, look, it was an interesting game from Rashford because it looks like he's coming into form and getting more confident in terms of like, he's getting a goal and assist almost every game. You can see he's like taking plays on more. But I don't know how I feel about Rashford overall. Like, there are a few times where he seems like he just doesn't know what he's doing. He loses the ball a lot. But at the same time, the next play he can go on, beat a player, create something really good. So it's a bit of a weird one for Rashford. I do think overall he's a net positive for the team in terms of the goal returns he's getting, but he does sort of ruin and hinder attacks a lot, which hasn't been frustrating yet because we really need him to step up. But I'm really interested to see where that goes. But then again, he's still adjusting, and I think, he's been a very important player for this team. And if we didn't sign him, who knows we would have been this season with the injuries we've got. So I think he had another good game today overall in the balance of things. Ferran Torres, striker, he was okay. Obviously he scored, so you can't really criticize him too much considering he did find the back of the net. But I don't know, like for that goal specifically, his movement was good, his finish was good. He did his job, but I do think that he could have done better with some of the other chances he got, especially the one right in injury time of the first half. I feel like he probably could have done better. And if, like, I know it was a deflection from the defender who defended well, but I feel like if Lewandowski was in that position, he probably would have gone on to finish that. Just observations. But obviously, he's not as good as Lewandowski. We don't need him to be as good as Lewandowski. We just need him to be, good enough for the time being until we find our long-term striker. But he was okay. Just, I kind of did want a bit more in that sense. But what can you expect from, basically a substitute player, right? Yamal, this is interesting. So obviously, elephant in the room, broke up with his girlfriend, Nicole, I think her name is. I forgot, Nikki something, which is huge. I think a lot of Barcelona fans were sort of like praising it and getting excited about, heartbreak Yamal, that sort of thing. But I think today he was good. Obviously, he's suffering from that whole pubis injury, like the chronic one that I know Messi suffered from for quite a long time, and it's going to be some sort of like a long-term chronic injury, which isn't great. But I did see Hansi Flick mentioning that, they've been trying to work on it, and he's been doing a lot of strengthening and conditioning during the week. And I feel like you could really see it in the first 20 minutes. Like, when he started the game, especially the first 10, he was electric. Like, he was taking plays on. He had that little dribble where he cut inside and then back outside. He looked like he kind of got over it all of a sudden. And I got really excited, especially for his goal too. A lot of quick movements, good finish, just to open up the space. But then you could kind of see as the game went on, he did sort of start to fade off from making those sort of, confident attacking like take-ons, and he sort of went back to more playmaking and facilitating the play. So I do think there is still more to come from Yamal in terms of getting the best out of him when he does hopefully, heal a little bit more from that injury. I know it's not something you can just heal from, but hopefully he starts to manage it a bit better and he can, be as effective as we know he can be for a full 90 minutes. But we'll see what happens. I still think he was a very good player today. Had a few good chances. Yeah, he did well. I mean, it's Lamine Yamal. Like, what else do you want from him? I do think that it could have been good to maybe give him some rest, especially when we went 3-1 up. I think that could have been a good time to take him off, bring Rooney on, for example, a bit earlier on, and just, give Yamal some rest and help him, manage this before it gets too bad, sort of thing. But then again, the medical professionals know more than me. Or you'd hope so, but yeah. Moving on to the defense now, which I wanted to talk about. I think this is actually a good game for us defensively in terms of tactical approach. I know there was a few times like they hit the post and they had a lot of good chances, but I feel like for the first time since probably the Newcastle game, it looked like Hansi Flick kind of instructed the defenders to sit back a bit more instead of just going for the suicidal high line the whole game. We obviously still stuck to a high line for the majority of the game, but I feel like there were moments, especially towards the end, where we actually did drop back a little bit more, and I think that benefited the defenders, in particular Araujo, right? I think Araujo today had a pretty good performance, one of his best. He seems, confident. He's getting a lot better on the ball too. I think he actually looked pretty comfortable for once, which is pretty rare for Araujo. And I've seen a lot of people blame him for the goal that Rafa Mir scored. But honestly, I don't really put the blame to Araujo. I know it looks like he could have sort of closed him down a bit quicker, but if you actually look at the situation, Araujo was kind of closing off an easy sweat pass back across the middle. So I think that, like, if he was to press, most likely Rafa Mir would have just played that easy pass and would have had a better shot on goal. It was a good finish at the end of the day, and I think Araujo still did a decent job. But yeah, I've spoken about this before, but I have kind of eaten my words on Araujo this season. I remember there was a video I made recently where I said I don't think he has a place in the team. And I do think that's true if Hansi Flick is going to stick to the suicidal high line all the time, because I don't think Araujo suits that system. But there's going to be moments where Flick's going to drop the line and stick to basic, more low block-ish defending. I think Araujo is one of the best in the world when it comes to just pure defensive actions. When he doesn't have time to think, when it's just letting his body act and, react and defend just instinctively. I think he's really good at that. So I think if we can facilitate our defense in key moments to suit that more, I think Araujo does have a place in the team in the future. And speaking of a place in the team in the future, Eric Garcia has played almost every game this season, and I think once again he impressed today. A few times he was a bit defensively, but overall his link-up play, his ball carrying, I think he was amazing. And I do generally think that Eric Garcia deserves to be in the starting lineup. Whether or not it's at centre back or maybe at right back, which I think might be the better option, which I'll get onto now, because I think Koundé was again odd. Like, look, it's interesting because I love Koundé. I think he was one of the best right backs in the world last season, maybe behind Hakimi and arguably Julian Timber only, but that's about it. But it's just a bit interesting. Like, obviously he's off form, and there are a few moments in the game today where I really looked at like some of his actions, his passes were astray, and I was thinking like, bro, what are you doing? Like, where is the Koundé we know and love? But I will say, compared to the last few games, there were actually a few moments where it did seem like he was, actually making good passes, taking a few players on, defending a little bit better. It looked like he was kind of gradually going back to sort of his decent form. So if I was Hansi Flick at the moment, I would put and start Eric Garcia at right back and drop Koundé for a couple of games, just let him rest up, let him earn his place back in the team. But then again, Hansi Flick knows Koundé better than me. Maybe he needs that confidence to keep playing through the sort of form he's at now. But hopefully he can continue the gradual rise back into the form that we know he can be at. And the last defender is... wait, I've already spoken about Balde. That's right. Never mind. I completely forgot I spoke about Balde first because I think he was one of the best players on the pitch. But yeah, I think the defense did a lot better today. They defended a lot more as a unit. I think they did well to drop back a few times, and I think overall it was decent. Going on to the goalkeeper, Tech, Unk, like, bro, he's just... I honestly think he's going to go down, like Szczesny, he's going to go down as a cult hero for Barcelona. The likes of like, Aubameyang, Kessié, De Jong, like those players that sort of saved us in moments where we really needed them. I think, not Ter Stegen, I think Szczesny has been one of those players. Last season, stepping in for Ter Stegen just completely changed our season, in my opinion. And even this season, like, he wasn't even really prepared to play. He expected to be on the bench the whole season. He comes in not really ready to, have a good run of games. And he's ended up being really good. Against Real Madrid, I think he was one of our better players. Got, man of the match statistically. And I think today he was also really good. Some of his saves he made were amazing. Especially that one save, which I didn't actually realize it was a save at first. But the one where someone on the right side, I forgot who it was, on their team, took a shot. And it hit the post or the crossbar. But Tech actually got a fingertip to it and made that save. And I think that was really impressive. And I think he's just been really good. He's on the ball. Distribution has gotten a lot better too. I'm so grateful that we have Tech in our team. But yeah, overall, I do think this is a good sign for moving forward. I think we're in the sort of position now where I think that we need to just be trying to grind out results while we wait for all our team to come back and be healthy and start getting back in form. Like, I do honestly think it's not time to panic. And one thing I do want to mention is look at PSG around December, right? A lot of people wrote them off completely. They were not even going to make the knockouts of the Champions League. They were doing pretty bad in the league as well. And look how they went from December to the end of the season where they won the treble and were arguably one of the best teams of all time, some people would say. And I think we should look at that and sort of stay calm, stay confident that once we have all our players back healthy and once everyone is back in good form, because we have a lot of players right now who are healthy but just not in good form, which is pretty rare for it to all happen at once. I think once we can all recollect and hopefully just grind out results now, try and make the knockouts for the Champions League, maybe top 8. It doesn't have to be, perfect. We can lose maybe one more game, but just try and make that top 8. Try and stay within like 5 or 6 points behind Madrid. And maybe once everyone's back, at the start of 2026, maybe we can make a run for all the competitions. I truly do believe that. And I think that will be okay. But yeah, just keep grinding results. I think this is definitely a good sign of things to come. We could have gone on and lost this game and it would have been an absolute disaster. So the fact that we didn't makes me feel a little bit more reassured. But yeah, and the last thing I want to finish off on is I want to say that I do think we have one of, if not the highest ceiling of any team in world football right now, other than maybe PSG. Like, when it comes to any elite team, I think when we're at our best is better than everyone else's best, except maybe PSG, you could argue, which I still kind of believe that we might be able to match them. But the only problem is that our floor, so our lowest sort of level, is a lot lower than a lot of the other teams. Like if we go into big Champions League knockouts and we're playing how we are right now, we're gonna get wiped by elite teams like Arsenal, Bayern, Man City, like PSG especially. Like we're gonna get wiped. But if we can go into there back in good form and playing at our best, I think we can honestly beat anyone. So it's all about whether or not we can recollect ourselves, stay healthy, stay fit, stay in touching distance as I mentioned before, and then maybe we can do something. But yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this analysis. We will post another video for the Champions League game during the week as well. But yeah, thanks, guys. Take care.